For what purpose does the gentleman from Arkansas seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 41 as amended.
The clerk will report the title of the bill.
Union Calendar number 499, H.R. 41, a bill to provide for the recognition of certain Alaska Native communities and the settlement of certain claims under the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act and for other purposes.
Pursuant to the rule, the gentleman from Arkansas, Mr. Westerman, and the gentlewoman from New Mexico, Ms. Stansberry, each will control 20 minutes. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Arkansas.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days to revise and extend their remarks and to include extraneous material on H.R. 41, the bill now under consideration.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself such time as I may consume.
The gentleman is recognized.
I rise today in support of H.R. 41, the Unrecognized Southeast Alaska Native Communities Recognition and Compensation Act, introduced by Mr. Begich of Alaska. This bill amends the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act, or ANCSA, to recognize the Alaska Native communities of Haines, Ketchikan, Petersburg, Tanuki, and Wrangell. ANCSA was signed into law to resolve the long-standing issues surrounding the land claims of Alaska Natives. Under ANCSA, roughly 200 village corporations and 12 regional corporations were established. However, those 5 communities I just mentioned were excluded from the list of Southeast Alaska Native villages. As a result, they have missed out on numerous opportunities afforded to other Alaska Native communities. Although the 5 communities objected to their exclusion, no right of appeal was provided for the Southeast villages, so their challenges were rejected outright. Recognizing these 5 communities under ANCSA has been a long-standing goal of the Alaska delegation. Accordingly, the legislation amends ANCSA to allow them to organize into Alaska Native urban corporations and select 1 township each within the Tongass National Forest. The lands covered by this legislation were selected in consultation with the affected Alaska Native communities, local stakeholders, the U.S. Forest Service, and the general public. I commend Representative Begich for his work on behalf of his constituency, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. Gentlewoman from New Mexico is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. H.R. 41, the Unrecognized Southeast Alaska Native Communities Recognition and Compensation Act, would amend the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act, or ANCSA, to address the exclusion of 5 Southeast Alaska Native communities. When ANCSA was enacted in 1971 to resolve Alaska Native land claims, Congress created the Alaska Native Corporations, a structure that is vastly different than the framework established for tribal nations in the lower 48. Most Alaska Natives were enrolled into both a village corporation and a regional corporation. However, the communities of Haines, Ketchikan, Petersburg, and Tanuki and Wrangell were left off the eligibility list for establishing village corporations under ANCSA. H.R. 41 seeks to address that omission by creating the Alaska Native urban corporations for each of the 5 communities and authorizing the conveyance of approximately 23,040 acres of land, consistent with the acreage provided to the other Southeast Alaska Native communities under ANCSA from the Tongass National Forest in Southeast Alaska. Now, Mr. Speaker, I recognize that over the years this legislation has generated debate, particularly regarding the conveyance of federal lands within the Tongass National Forest. As the legislation advances, we remain committed to working with our colleagues in the Senate to address the historic injustices that occurred for these communities while safeguarding the cultural, ecological, and economic importance of the Tongass National Forest. I urge my colleagues to vote yes, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlelady reserves. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from Alaska, the lead sponsor of the bill, Mr. Begich.
The gentleman is recognized for 3 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in strong support of H.R. 41, the Unrecognized Southeast Alaska Native Communities Recognition and Compensation Act. This bill rights a wrong that has endured for more than 50 years. When Congress passed the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act in 1971, it made a promise to Alaska Native people, land, and the right to form their own corporations to manage that land and build their futures. But 5 Southeast Alaska communities, Haines, Ketchikan, Petersburg, Teneke, and Wrangell, were left out. Through no fault of their own, the Native people of these communities were given a name no Native community should ever have to carry: the landless. For half a century, the people of these 5 communities have come to Washington, made their case, and waited patiently and persistently for this body to keep its word. They have done everything that was ever asked of them. My predecessors have introduced this bill 10 times in this body, and in all those years, the House has yet to pass this bill. Today, we change that. H.R. 41 finally allows these communities to do what every other Alaskan Native community was able to do decades ago: organize their corporations, receive their land, and chart their own course. This action fulfills a promise and recognizes that Alaskan Native self-determination was always meant to include these communities. To the elders and leaders of Haines, Ketchikan, Petersburg, Teneke, and Wrangell, who never gave up, thank you for persevering. I urge my colleagues to support H.R. 41, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Mr. Speaker, I have no further requests for time. I'm prepared to close and reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. The gentlelady from New Mexico is recognized to close.
Mr. Speaker, I urge my colleagues to support this legislation, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentlelady yields back. The gentleman from Arkansas.
Mr. Speaker, H.R. 41 amends ANCSA to recognize the communities of Haines, Ketchikan, Petersburg, Teneke, and Wrangell. For over 50 years, these communities have missed out on the opportunities afforded under ANCSA. This legislation will deliver the fairness these communities deserve. I again thank Mr. Begich for his work on behalf of his constituents, and I urge passage of H.R. 41. I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back. The question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 41 as amended? Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, 2/3 being in the affirmative, the rules are suspended, the bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.